Hi, this is Catherine Dubberly, the Answer Lady. I'm still working on painting on knitwear, finding more and more interesting ways. In this video, we will use Jacquard fabric paints, stencils, and apply the paint with a sponge. Here is my green paint. I have diluted it slightly so that it will pick up with the sponge, and I dampened the sponge and then squeezed it out as hard as I could. Here's what I'm using: Jacquard textile color and a stencil from the craft store. I think it's called Simply Stencils by Plaid. Yep. It's got easy tack on the back of it. This is a Krylon product and it works absolutely great for keeping the stencil in position while you work and not getting bleed through. And you can see where I've already been. And I have cheap plastic tape over the sunflowers so as to mask them. I'll remove the tape later and come back and do the sunflowers in yellow. Okay, let me make sure that my stencil is pressed down. I've dampened my sponge, and with up and down movements, no side to side, you pat the paint into the stencil. Of course it's going to get all over the stencil. That's why we masked and why I'm going to clean frequently, so as to avoid smearing it on the next piece of fabric. If you do have a mishap with this paint and you don't think you can cover it up some other way, you can dash into the sink while it's still wet and before you've heat set it. Both things have to be true. It washes out quite well. But you don't want to have to do that a lot. You'll have to then let your garment dry and start over. The sweater is already assembled, so I have done what you'll need to do if you work with it assembled. I've inserted plastic between the layers. Before I stop and move the stencil, I'm going to blot up the excess paint, so that when I move it, it won't get on my hands so much or on the garment. Whenever I do this, I do usually have small amounts of paint end up where I don't want them, and I usually just incorporate it into the design. Okay, time to peel. There we go, another set of leaves. And here I'm setting up for my next time. Depending on how much you diluted the paint, you will get different effects. Less dilution, of course, gives you a stronger color, but it also tends to be stiffer. And either one is an acceptable thing. It just depends what you want to do. Now I'm working on the back of the sweater. I'm going to do the same design all the way around, but I think I would be wise to let this rest and dry a little bit before working on the other side. So I'll see you later. Okay, I'm working on the flowers now, the blossom part of the flowers. And now you see why masking with something clear is so helpful, because it allows you to line up the stencil with its original position. I also masked the little hanging hole that they used just to keep the stencils organized in the store, because I didn't want a mishap there. I diluted the flower yellow a little bit more than the green, so it's thinner and soaking into the fabric more. But so far it doesn't seem overly dilute to where it makes a mess. Make sure my hands are clean. See how easy it is to get it lined up? There we go. If this were all I was going to do to this sweater, it would be finished now. But I am going to rubber stamp some dragonflies flying up the sweater using a different kind of ink, and I will show you that on another video. Another thing you might want to take note of is the trim, which I will also make a video about because I'm pretty pleased with this. It's lacy looking, but it's made with no lace carriage or transferred stitches. It's all done with a special version of warm trim. Finish up by heat setting the portions of the sweater that have been painted with Jacquard paint. Wash it to remove any residue from the Easy Tack, and in this case I outlined the sunflowers using fabric markers, a technique which I have shown in another video, to give them a little bit more definition. And now we're ready to go.